nayeti güçlü alemler baki aklımızda Allah buyursa adetli Mustaftaki aşı kırındaşlarındaki hayatını kurtulup alsak birinci kademde kaldırın asaslar tüketsek nayeti obdan bulduğu öyleymen.
So I wanted to speak to you about the situation of the possibility of reporting about what's happening there. As I began telling you this morning, it never has been an easy task doing report in Xinjiang. Sorry. Because we foreign correspondents, we have this, this Xinjiang thing. It's a topic amongst us, so we don't really use the term, but I'm ready to use it. Eastern Turkestan. Okay. So when I was a foreign correspondent, there were very few correspondents who would go there, because it was they were discouraged even before having the idea of going there, because every time someone went to Urumqi, as soon as you get down from you come out from the plane, you are followed. So there wasn't any way to do anything there without the police, local police, knowing what you did, where you went, and with whom you talked. So it was really dangerous to do the report. It was dangerous for the people with whom we would interact, and it was probably dangerous also for the reporter himself. Because you can be taken to the police office when you're in mainland China, like Neidi, how they say in Chinese, when you're inside there, and there is a kind of protection when you're there. But when you're in YD, it's different, because there you don't know how the police will act. You don't know if they won't harm you. So it's dangerous. In the year 2014-15, when I went to Eastern Turkestan, I went to different places. I wanted to go to one place where we heard, because of Radio Free Asia, and I want absolutely to salute the work of Radio Free Asia Uyghur section, because without their work, we wouldn't even know that something is happening there. Because for a long time, the Chinese media would never report about something which was happening, the so-called incidents which were happening here and there. Because at that time, the idea was that everything is peaceful, we are in control, nothing is happening in Xinjiang. So we are, no, that's what they would say. They would say Xinjiang, okay? I'm quoting that. Okay, and so we wouldn't have even reports about what was going on. It was because of Radio Free Asia that we would know that something happened. So some of the reporters would want to go there and to, just to ask people what happened, what did you see, from what you know, what happened, what was the reason, etc., etc. And usually it was this way. Some person was taken from the market or from the street to the police office. And if it was a woman, and then her family men would come and want to take her to their home. But then the police people would say, no, her veil is too strict, etc., etc. She should unveil, etc. And then a brawl would happen, and then people would fight. Sometimes people would die inside the police office. And then after that, you would have heavy armed police coming down in this small area and transforming this small incident in a huge, big event that with people fighting on the streets and people being killed by the dozens. So many of those incidents happened in places which weren't too far from, say, from Turfan or from some other places near the main road. So people would want the journalists would want to go there and ask, but as soon as they arrive in Urumqi, they would be stopped. They would be taken to the police office. They would be put on a plane back to Beijing. So there wasn't. It was really difficult. I could manage to do that because with another colleague of mine, another French journalist from the daily Libération, he was also, like me, a very good Chinese speaker. We would go by ourselves. We wouldn't go with, interpreters and photographers and, a bunch of people that are very easily spotted. And we would, drive inside the region, coming from another region. And at that time, it was still possible, although you had to go through the checkpoints like after midnight. Otherwise, you would be stopped, and you shouldn't go to any hotel, so you would be ready to sleep in the car by freezing temperatures. So it was really very difficult to do it. So that's the reason why people didn't do it that much. And nowadays, where it's even more difficult, because I think even after midnight you would be stopped at the checkpoints. And there are many more checkpoints than there were 3 years ago. So, I want you to consider that the work done by those by those journalists who are now in Beijing is really very outstanding. I want you to appreciate that. And second thing, what can you do to help them? One thing is that they need to talk to people. They cannot do it there, because if they go on the field and talk to people, people won't answer to them, or if they answer to them, they would be in jeopardy themselves. So how can you help them? You can help them by giving them opportunities to talk with people who are outside of China, who are a bit safe, and who can talk and who know things, or who can report, who can give testimonies of what they or their friends and family person experienced. And another thing that you can do is those journalists who are writing about this issue, they have Twitter accounts, they have Facebook pages. Follow them. Follow them. Give them a big capacity to make their voice resonate. Ask your friends to follow them, so that if they have, say, maybe they have 2,000 followers on Twitter, if they have 10,000, 15,000, 30,000 followers, this is different. Their voice will be much more influential with the rest of the world. So say to everyone, follow those journalists who are doing this report, and retweet their tweets. This is the way that you can help. It's not much, but it can have very important consequences. And the last thing that I need to say, we all, with our colleagues, when we come together, we wonder, what's the meaning of all this? Where are they going? What do they want to do, really? We don't know. But we assume that they are, in fact, the victims of their own desire of uber control. They want to control everything because they are the victims of their own terror. They are terrorized by whatever could come out from the field, from the people, even the Han people. What they fear most, what the Communist Party fear most, is the Han people. So I think that what's important for you to do is to build relationships, bridges with the Han people. I know it's difficult because many of them, even in outside China, are a bit nationalistic, and many of them, they don't see where's the problem. Is there a problem there? They don't see it. But many of them are decent people, and they could be, I mean, if there is enough effort, there might be bridges built outside of China that could have a consequence inside of China. And this system, anyway, is going to impact everyone in China in some time. We don't know yet. Maybe not everyone will be put in concentration camps, but everyone will be controlled in a very strict way. So everyone will be affected in one way or another. So this creates a common ground, I think, and I think that's the best way you can help from outside. So I mean, you're not totally disempowered. You can do some things, and I think it's necessary in the very difficult situation where you are now, trying to do things that can have maybe a little bit of impact. Thank you.
Ben tercümesini Ursula Hanım asasen özünün şu muhbirlik kılış tecrübesi boyunca fikirlerini bayan kıldı. Degeni Nayte bulup bizden Vatan Şarkı Türkistan'dan muhbirlarını üyeye berip şu Naq meydandan haber berişi nayte teslişip ketdi deydi. Burunlu maçlar tesli. Şonlaşqa nayte az muhbirlar şu baralaydı deydi. Onun sebebi eğer bir muhbir Ürümçi'ye Şarkı Türkistan baramansa çokum aqsıda saqçılar buludu, aeroportdan kep boğuçe, bazı vaqtlar qaytır ötüdü deydi. Bir amallarını bağın taktırdığına kim bilen köreşse şu köreşke adamı beşiği nemi kelib dep jıq narsalarni o'ylashimiz kerak. Şonlaşqa bardığı adamın az bo'lishi muxbirlarning qiziqmaganligidan emas deydi. Xitoy hukumatining shu rayni qattiq kontrol qilganligidan deydi. Yana birisi radio Erkin Asiya radiosiga rahmat aytib o'tdi, chunki shu Ursula xonim xabar bergan shu Baynayesi Kömürkandagi voqeani shu Erkin Asiya radiosi xabar qilib, shuningdan uchragan. O'zining shaxsiy nemisini, tajribasini so'zlab o'tdi. Agar hukumatning tashviqotiga ishonsak deydi, bu yerdagi vaziyatni aytdi. Tinch, aman, hammadan boy-boyashad. Lekin shundan bo'lsin biz davlat qilaylik, xabar beraylik deb qolsak, nurg'unlagan qiyinchiliklar ko'riladi deydi. Normalda Sharqiy Turkistondagi voqealarni Xitoylarning ta'riflashi bo'yicha aytganda deydi, bir oydan bir adam tutilgan bo'ldi yoki ayol masalan yog'liq chaybi, u bu shaq-shaq narsalar bilan uni qutildirish uchun yo'ldoshi oila a'zolari boradi saqchiga. Saqchi yerda talash tartish chiqib shuni bilan o'ldi, u o'ldi, bu o'ldi deb nurg'unlagan qurolliq askarlarni yetib keldi. Ularning voqeani bayon qilishi shunday shuning uchun biz uni tafsillayman qo'yay desak, bizni bog'liq qo'ymaydi, har xil to'salg'uliklarni paydo qiladi. Analik o'zining Turpanga borgandagi bir hikoyasini, kechirmishlarini so'zlab o'tdi. Hozir vaqtlarda deydi 2014-2015 kechilarda andaman o'tkir bo'ladi, chunki tekshirish to'sash markazlari saqchilarni o'nchibakni ketmaydi, hozir kechilarni qattiq tekshiradi deydi. Anaki ham muhim narsa Ursula xonimning demoqchi bo'lgan bu yerda biz qanday yordam qila olamiz? Bo'libmi shu bizning vatanimiz haqida xabar berayotgan muxbirlar qanday xabar beramiz degan kelganda birisi shular bilan aloqalashinglar deydi. Aloqalash orqali o'zinglar agar vatandagilar bilan suhbatlashib ularga xabar beramiz, sizlar ifoda o'zinglarning oilanglar haqida nim bilsangiz shular bilan o'rtoqlashinglar deydi. Hech bo'lmasa bu muxbirlar vatan ishida qarindoshlarlar bilan uchrashmaganki sizlarning bergan bayonotlar bo'yicha yana xabarlarni ishlashga davom qiladi. Ikkinchidan bu ko'plagan muxbirlarning Facebook va Twitter hisoblari bor. Hagishinglar deydi. bu Twitter hesapka ergeçkenler köp boğan sırı bulanın imkanı köpüydü. Cık adamlarla alakışma kalmasında ergeç güçleri cık olsa onun tesir güçünü cık oldu. Onun için o muhbirlarının şu Uygurlar hakkında belgen haberlerini retweet etmemiz kaydıdın tweetlanları, başkalarının öz anlarının çemberkenleri, yollanlarıydı. Bir muhbir için özünün haberlerinin köp tarqılışı elbette onun bunun yaxşırak işleşilimi rəğbətlendiriş olurdu. Anadkin bəzi biz muhbirlar oturup Xitay nəyət getib barıdı, qaysı yönün iş getib barıdı, müşakirlər cip müzakirə qılımız gerçi baramısaq Şərqi Türkistan ve başka yerlerde. Normalde deydi, həmimizdən ortak kəlgən noxtası Xitay həmmi nəsini kontrol qılmandaydı. Adamlardan qoqaydı, özünün Xitaylardan da qoqaydı. Yani şunda boğaçqa Xitaylardan mı Komünist Partiyanın, Xitay hükümetinden ziyankeşlik uşağı qalacaq. Bolup mu çataldaki Xitay demokratlarının şu Xitay komünistler karşı mümkündür. Gerçi bu Xitay demokratları da İğir milletçilik xahişi bolsun. Yani bulanma komünist hükümetinin ziyine uçuravatqanlar boğaçqa bir ortak zemin tepişi mümkün. Şular bilen mi alaqanı biraz tez olsun mu kuruşqa görüşünler. Bazı vaxtda şularını qayını qıpqasanlar. Bulanın içkirdeki Xitaylarına nispeten mi belgilik bir təsir gücü boludur, müşarqılıq. Özanlarga nemini birlik sepni kengaytarleyseler deydi. Çünkü bu dünyada hemimiz özüne birbirimizge bağlanıqlıq, şu tor arqılıq, bir yer küçük, bir yer qalmaydı. Şonun aşkı biz dostlarımız verirlemez, bazı vaxtda da özümüz alaqılışın halamıqallar bilen mi arqıl, özümüzün haqlıq tərəfdə turup, bulağını özümüzün dərdini anlatsak, çokum yaxşı buldu deydi, xulasımış.
Thank you for your kind speech. And my name is Ursula. I came from Australia. When you talk about journalism reporting, especially about the Uyghur situation of East Turkestan, what I've come to understand is that journalists are two types. One who seek, looking to interest part of their job, and they go and find, for example, your case is very clear in that. And for them, the case is very clear. They report what they see, and they even go further doing research and investigation, and then it's very powerful. But other reporters, on the other hand, we see is that they wait for someone to bring them information. For example, now in Australia, our community started telling our stories, personal stories, family stories, the situation we're going through in East Turkestan. And most of them quite good or positive in accepting, but recently one of the reporters who were doing SBS program, I was involved as part of the people who were sharing their stories. When we shared our story, I mean, we didn't have the solid proof except the names of the people, that yes, we have disconnected our family, all those issues that everyone is aware of. But unfortunately, or I shouldn't say unfortunately, but for this person, it was something very new, and she was kind of shocked. Yes, she understood and she felt our feeling, but she said that I cannot report your feelings. I need solid proof. It's our job. Journalists have to rely on proofs, and which we don't have besides our stories. So my question is, how can we, or is there any mechanism of raising awareness for the journalists and reporters, like through, journalists like you, sharing or raising this awareness or the situation of East Turkestan to the other journalists or other media people?
Well, I understand this person because as probably it's a journalist who hasn't covered China previously, who doesn't know the situation in China. When you are out of China, you have a very flawed view of China. Many of the people, not only journalists, I mean even government people, professionals, and the ordinary people have a very untruthful, unprecise views of China, because China is very strong at doing its own propaganda. And also, don't forget, there is this interest thing. when the business people are going to China and doing very nice deals for themselves or their companies, they don't really have the incentive to go and look to the bad, to the dark sides of China. So this reaction is in fact a very common reaction, but it comes from a person who hasn't been sufficiently informed about what is going on in China, everywhere in China, not only in the minority areas. This is the first thing. The second thing, it's not true that you don't have proof today. You have all this body of work from the scholars who have proved that those camps exist just by satellite photos, and there is one Chinese Han student in America who is doing this research and who is documenting the fact that all those centers who are supposed to be, vocational, in fact they have towers, watching towers, they have high walls, they have razor wire everywhere. So it's not vocational centers. So this is proof. You can show them this proof. This is also one thing that you should also know very well your own file, your own dossier, we say in French. You should know very well what is coming out. What are the new elements, new documents that are coming out? And then you should give them to those journalists. I mean, this person has not been sensitive about what's going on in China because this person is discovering the issue. So you cannot expect from her to be immediately receptive. But you can help her raise her awareness by giving her all those documents. I'm sure there are things that you can do.
It's just one small example of that. The other was when you look at the overall picture, over 90% they are very receptive and positive. Yeah, they share them. This really touched me and said, when I'm showing my own story, and for me it's a solid proof, and can't deny it. But she said, I can only see your feelings, that I can see, I can describe you from your facial expression. Yes, you are really concerned, you're worried. Yes, I sympathize with you. But when I have to put it in a report, then
okay, show her the proof. Show her the proof. You have. I mean, this is really a special moment that we're living today, because for a long time, when I was writing about what was going on in Eastern Turkestan, I was relying on Radio Free Asia reports, my own reports, but my own reports where I went to this place, I talked to maybe 3 persons, not more. I don't have really statistics, and I can just say whatever 3 or 4 or 5 persons told me. That's all. Is it a proof? No, it's a report. So this was the case since 20 years. But now the situation is different, because now you have a body of documentation about what's going on, which is frankly the first time that we have seen this kind of overwhelming proof. So the situation is more, I mean, I feel optimistic from this point of view.
Onda da sen kahvaltıda sual sormaya oturmamalı. Yarın saat kalmışsın.
Sual sormam ortaya dedi. Selamünaleyküm. Evvel ismim Abdülselam. Ben Avustralya'dan geldim. Bu Halid'in ben özellikle işimdeki kişinin bir nesine sorup baktım. Hazır muhbirlarınki qavaqan xizmatları intayin bizim nispeten bek muhim. Bizim işimizdenki taraqqiy qilishi, biz arzuqan narsaga yetishimiz uchun muhbirlarninki to'g'ri report qilishi bizning ahvolimizni xalqqa yetkazish bek muhim. Hozir ba'zi bu xonimga o'xshash muhbirlar izlanayotgan, izlanib borgan, shu yerda yashagan kishilar bilan bevosita munosabat qilib, bizning kishilar nima qilgan, yozgan maqolalar bilan, reportlar bilan alayda kuchga ega, bu yaxshi bo'layotdi. Ama yine o'xshamagan nurg'un muhbirlar bor. Biz men shaxsan duch kelgan Avstraliyada yaqinda bir cho'ng program ishlamoqchi bo'lib, Avstraliyadagi cho'ng bir ministr bor. Ya'ni qanday SBS deydi. Şuna bir muhbir geldi, biz özümüz o bir neçe aile bilişip, özümüzdeki ailesi kelgan işlarni ularga yetkizgan boldik. Ama oxirsida o xonim bizga texim vakrak bizning bir narsa edishni maqsad qildimi yoki qanoat topmadimi? Sizlarning hissiyotinglarni tushunib turibdimi, lekin men bu hissiyotinglarni report qila olmayman. Menga cho'qim pakt bo'lish kerak edi. Yani bizning bergan paktimiz bizga uchun yetarlik. Biz masalan, mening oilamda mancha kishi turmada, mancha kishi lagerda 2 yilda ko'rsatmadim, u deymiz. Ham bularga nisbatan bularning o'zining shu media nimasilar ishlab o'tganligi xizmat doirasida buni ba'zilar yetarlik pakt deb qaramaydi ekan. Buni texmo ularga yetkazish yoki tushuntirishda biz qanday rolni o'ynay olamiz? Yani boshqa muxbirlarning buni tushunganlar bu masalada qanchalik yordam qila oladi degan savolni so'rsam, buni yana sizlarning qo'lingizda shu bergan yetarlik paket shu yetarlik bo'ladi. Ammo sizlar uni sal qaramasligini kerak. Uning ustiga hozir satellite bilan ko'rilgan shu lagerlarning o'rinlari hamma narsa bayqaldi. Hozir butun dunyo xalqaro uni tunyapti. Uning ustiga buni tadqiq qilib xalqaro alamiga o'tirib qo'ygan. Sizlar emas, balki bir Xitoy o'quvchining masalan o'tirib qo'yilgan. Demak, bu taxmin uchun paket. Sizlar bizlarningki bu bergan ma'lumotlarni hargiz yetarlik emas o'xshaydi deb bunday bizlarni muhkamlanglar. Yetarlik paket shu.
Ben hem jurnalizm okudum hem jurnalist olup 30 yıl yakın Azat Radyosu'nu işledim. Afganistan uğraşı, o uğraş, bu uğraş, Körfez uğraşlara katlaştım. Mücahitler bilen birlikte düşen resimlerim var. Kalaşnikovlar bilen birlikte. Bu resimlerini biz ötmüşte Amnesty International gibi etat. Muşa adam istifit oldu. Başka şuna misal bağ mı diye soraydı. Biz izleyiciler yeni bir kaç resim tepip başka istifit etkenlerini Amnesty onu çıkargandan keyin başka matbuatlarımı bunu neşir kılattı. Şundan yol izlese ben de bir iki resim emez de yani birkaç resim tepip Amnesty'ye halkara keçirim teşkilatı var ama onu verip üyedin zannedime matbuatı çıkarsa tek mazbat olurdu çünkü Amnesty'nin çıkaran raporları bir delil, bir ispat olup görünümde aslında. Yani evet şu anlamda.
Rahmet aka. Bana sen kim ayrı değişir mi? Müzakere bağlantılarında kötü vakit geçmesin. Bu bugün aslında düşünürken söyleyen kişi ötedendi. 5 adam, 3 adam maçatalık mehmanlar, aşkelen özümüzün kişiden. Hazır buralara gidip kaldı, düşünün bunun sözler bulup. Bu ustazımızdaki dayıda arkadaşlar oldum soal sorusunu dedi. Bu adikat dediğine adikatımız işleyen kişi şu. İçki ministeri, Engiliyening ministeri. Bular so'alim bo'lmasa, bu qismini tugatib, endi uyg'ur qismini o'tamiz. Uyg'ur qismi bek muhim. Doktor Akram umumiy doklad berdi, universal doklad. Bu doklad bizniki boqatinki butun faoliyatimizga asos bo'lgan bir narsa. Niyatki vaziyat haqida. Onun lekin Umarxonniki bu so'zlagan narsa bor. Hozir 1 soat vaqt qoldi. Akramniki yolg'iz Akramniki 1,5 soat vaqt ketgandik. Yeterli vaqt yo'q endi shunaqa bo'lsa mumkin tezroq tirish baqsa ko'p baqsaq mana bu chet el mehmonlarni ichki salonni mayli deyman qolgan qismi uyg'urchalar bo'ladi.
Actually, I had one question to Mr. Baker because onu çıkarıp koyduk bir soru sorayım. Thanks just for coming and participating in our event. Just I have one question. Recently there are a lot of discussions about the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative and many academia and experts, they are saying this is the neo-colonialism or expansionism, rightfully so. And so there are countries that expressing a stand, just like the United States. And Canada is in between. Just I would like to know what is the political insiders in UK viewing the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. What is the stand? Just agree or disagree or against for that initiative? Good question.
Thank you. Well, the British view on trade is that we've always been in favour of trade. We spent quite a lot of the 19th century invading countries in order to facilitate trade. So we're not against that as a country in itself. But I think what has to be seen from the Silk Road Initiative and the wider activities of the Chinese government is that they have changed fundamentally from being a closed, inward-looking society, which they were really until, I don't know, maybe 1990 or thereabouts, into having global ambitions. And the global ambitions are about supplying what they need for themselves from wherever it may be in the world. And this is most notably happening in Africa, where they are busy reaching deals, sometimes not very advantageous deals, with the countries concerned to source tungsten or wherever they need for their industries. So they are using a great deal of money and influence around the world to secure what they want. They have, to some extent, an advantage with some countries when compared to, say, the European countries or America, because the European countries in America tend to say, we will not deal with you unless you improve your human rights records, for example. And the Chinese don't bother with that; they'll just accept anybody. So they were very good friends with Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe, for example, when we wouldn't touch him with a barge pole. I don't know who's doing translation for barge pole, but with a long stick. That is their approach to the world. So you know, when they are not buying their way around the world, which they are, they're buying their way around the world. They're buying up countries. They're also buying political influence, because they're saying to small countries, we will invest a lot of money in your country, but in return for that you vote with us at the United Nations, or you keep quiet, or you don't allow the Dalai Lama to visit, or whatever else they demand. So they tie together the economic carrot with the stick at the same time. That's what they do. And they put these conditions on. It's not just countries, it's also towns, it's universities, and if you see the Confucius Institutes around the world, which are presented by the Chinese as being harmless and talking about Chinese culture, no, they're not. They go way beyond that. You know, in Tibet Society, which I'm president of, we did an analysis of Tibet of Confucius Institutes in the United Kingdom, and we found that they were exerting quite improper influence on universities, on our universities. They were saying, for example, that they didn't want people who were Falun Gong practitioners, or they were creating maps to hand out to students which showed Taiwan as part of China. They were just, you know, inventing things for their own benefit, and you know, it's very dangerous when either a country or an institution says, okay, we will smudge over the truth in order to get some money. And that's what it comes down to. And so they buy their way around the world, and they bully their way around the world. And you know, that's part of what we've been talking about this morning in terms of the influence you have. One more thing, if I may just say, on the discussion you had a few moments ago about the Chinese mentality, the Han Chinese mentality. And it's perfectly true that we've seen the minorities disappear. Look at what happened to Manchuria and go back 100 years or so. But the Chinese have a very, very long view of history and a very long view of where they want to go. And I think it's probably much longer in both directions than any other country. I think it was Chou Enlai in about 1989 who was asked what he thought the consequences of the French Revolution had been 200 years earlier. And he said it was too early to tell, 200 years on. And they had this idea that they will assimilate minorities, they will recapture the land they've got. They don't really mind how long it takes. It went quite a long time to get Hong Kong back from the British. But they have this long view of the world. And I think the challenge for us somehow, or actually the challenge probably for the Chinese people themselves, is to say this juggernaut, which is heading towards this particular terminal point, this terminus, has to be rediverted somewhere. And that probably ultimately has to be the Chinese people that do that, I think, rather than people from outside.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Kısqalab
Men Engiliyening Xitoyning bir balvoq bir yo'l Xitoyning kengayishligiga Engiliya siyosatchilari qanday qaraydi deb savol so'radim. Cevabı hem de bütün burunki müstemlikçilerge o'xshash Xitoyning oldi bilan savdodan boshlayapti dedi. Biz Engiliyaning birinchi shunaqa qilgan savdo orqali sinib bergan. Pul orqali ojiz davlatlarni sotib olib, o'zining talablariga bo'ysundirib, o'zining Birlashgan Davlatlar Tashkiloti va boshqa yerdagi ta'sirlariga o davlatlarning pul bilan olgan puliga javob qaytarish uchun shu Birlashgan Davlatlar Tashkiloti Xitoy bilan o'rtaqlashishi, shuni qo'l keltirish uchun qilyapti. Anarkin muharib sifatida Konzi shu yerlar Konzi institutlarini qurib o'zining unisini qilyapti deydi. Şunlaşqa Xitoylarning bu tarixini istan ko'z qarashini aytdi. Uzun muddatni ko'zlab tarixni qildi ekan. U bo'lib dal men so'ragan savolim javob bermadi hamda aslida Angliya siyosatchilarining shu qanday qaraydiganligini ko'rmoqchi edim. Shu Xitoyning shu boshqa millatlarni assimilyatsiya qilib qilganlar o'zini tushunsin deb aytdi.
Rahmat.
I have a question to Mr.
Is
Sorry.
it about the French Revolution?
No, it's not. It is about you have been in charge of your country, so you know how politicians think and how they behave. So we are Uyghurs, and me, who is not Uyghur but who cares. If we want from our governments to act, to do things, to take action against what China is doing, what should we say to our politicians? What should we do in order to compel them to take position? What is really efficient on this topic? How can we do things? I'm speaking as a French, where France is not doing a big deal in this aspect. So I would like to know what is your advice to people who want their own government to act.
Well, we heard from our American friend this morning about the Five Eyes, and we heard that quite correctly that in order to be able to challenge the Chinese government successfully, and the Chinese government is very powerful, we have to have an assembly of different countries whose power together is strong enough to be able to stand up to the Chinese government, and also, if everybody stands together, they can't be picked off one by one, because that's what happens. The Chinese will suddenly pick on either the Danes or the Swedes and say you shouldn't have a Dalai Lama there. Well, Sweden and Denmark are very nice countries, but not very powerful, and they have to, therefore, they tend to capitulate, or if they don't capitulate, they're paying an economic price for doing that. That wouldn't apply if all countries work together. So what I say to my country's politicians, and you say to yours, find common cause with those who are of a similar outlook to yourself, and work together. By the way, that may sound strange coming from a British politician as we're committing hari-kari at the moment with Brexit, but I mean, apart from that, we should work together on these matters, and that's actually the way forward. The British government has a particular history with China because of our colonial past. We had independent relations with Tibet. Obviously, we had Hong Kong as a colony, so we know about the history of this. And for a very long time, the British didn't recognise Tibet as part of China, because it was not. It was an independent country. So when China talks about land, it's someone else's land they're talking about, not their own land. Tibet, East Turkestan, these are occupied territories as far as I'm concerned. So, but we knew that, and the Chinese put a lot of pressure on the British government to change the official position. And the British government cowardly changed the position to say no, it's now part of China. It did say it hadn't always been part of China, so it's maintained that it's now accepted as part of China. But the thing which annoyed me most about that, this Tibet, the thing that annoyed me most about that was not that the British government changed its position, although it did annoy me. What annoyed me was they were so useless as to get nothing in return. Because all that happened was they offered the Chinese something, and the Chinese opened the till, they put it in the till, they shut the till, and that's the end of the conversation. So, you know, you have to drive a hard bargain with the Chinese, actually. There's no point offering them something. You know, in European diplomacy, you can say to someone, well, we'll do this, and then the other side will respond and say, well, we'll do this in return. You know, if you say to the Chinese government, we'll do this, and say, thanks very much, end of the conversation. You know, that's not how we have to behave. So, strength in numbers is the answer, I think. Strength in numbers, and don't be afraid. You know, after the Dalai Lama came to London and was met by the Deputy Prime Minister from my party, Nick Clegg, and the Prime Minister, David Cameron, the Chinese government said, you know, you are now out of Siberia, you are now out of our contact, we want no British ministers, and so on. And David Cameron panicked about this, and suddenly it was all kowtowing to the Chinese and please come back. He should have said, well, all right, that's how you want it, you know, sod off, you know, or just carry on anyway. But curiously enough, after the thaw came, the first minister that I had back in China was me. Although my Tibetan contacts were quite strong. So, you know, you have to somehow just stand up what you believe in. And my belief is, you have to show strength to the Chinese, not weakness. If you show weakness, they walk all over you.
Exactly.
And ağır kişinin beğen cevabı, beğen o Amerika'nın kelgen satışımızın o da böyle 5 küzetkiçi de, Amerika'nın 5 küzetkiçi de 5 devletin tırnağı Amerika, Engiliye, Germaniya ve Fransiya, Avustralya, Yeni Zelanda.
Just the English ones. Canada.
Kanada ama. Maalesef yaşayalım diye baktım. Aşağıda dedi, aşağı oşak deydi. Bu akta takabül duruşta her bir devlette öz aldığı ayrım çıksa yenemeydi dedi. Bu belki köp kuruldu hazır kadar. Mesela Şveysariya'nı misal aldı. Şveysariya dağlamanı teklif koysa, teklif koysan dedi. Kısanlık olsan dese, iqtisadiyyatın başladığını kısıp aşağı ki mecbur edildi. Şuna Xitay her bir devletlerge ayrı takabül duruşu belki kısa deydi. Şuna devletler birleşip durup takabül durmasa güç yetmeydi degan şu bir narsa o'tirib. This session and thank you so much. Bu xalqi yig'inlarda buncha qizimaydi, qizisa mani qistab ketib boradi, uzoqlashtirib, keyin qilsa qolmaydi. Ay, issiq tavarlardan